When you finally stop reaching out to her, everything shifts. Not just a little, not for a day, but deep inside her thoughts, her emotions, and her sense of control. Something begins to unravel. She won't admit it. She'll stay quiet, act indifferent, scroll through her phone as if nothing changed. But beneath that calm surface, silence starts working on her mind like slow fire. What most men never realize is that silence doesn't erase you, it amplifies you. It makes her replay moments, ask questions she can't silence. Did he lose interest? Did I push him too far? Has he already moved on? Those questions don't weaken attraction. They intensify it, because uncertainty is the fuel of desire. And when you take your energy back, when you stop feeding her ego with constant validation, you create an emotional storm she can't easily escape. At first, it doesn't feel like heartbreak. It feels like confusion. People are creatures of rhythm. We get used to the morning coffee, the constant buzz of notifications, the small habits that make the day feel stable. You became one of those rhythms for her, your texts, your check-ins, your voice. Whether she valued it or not, it became a part of her background, a soundtrack she relied on. The moment it goes silent, something inside her senses the imbalance. She won't call it longing yet, but she feels it. That empty pause between what used to be your messages and now nothing, it hits harder than any argument or apology ever could. Silence disrupts her certainty. It removes the control she thought she had. She used to know you'd reply, that no matter how long she took, you'd still be there waiting. That sense of predictability gave her power. But now, every hour that passes without your message stretches longer than it should. She'll tell herself it's fine, she doesn't care, you're probably busy. But she'll check her phone more often. She'll scroll past your name, pretending she's not looking for it. And every time she doesn't see it, that small ache grows a little heavier. She starts to feel the absence she once ignored. That's the first phase, the shock of silence. It's not about what you say, it's about what your silence represents. It represents freedom, a man who no longer revolves around her moods, a man who respects his time, a man she cannot predict, and predictability is what kills attraction. The unknown, however, keeps her hooked. Your silence becomes a mirror reflecting her own dependence. She'll replay the last thing she said to you, wondering if she pushed too far, if she should have replied sooner. Her mind begins to fill the gaps that you intentionally left open. That's when your absence becomes presence, louder, heavier, unavoidable. You see, the female mind resists uncertainty. It craves closure, explanation, reassurance. Silence denies all three. That's why it stings more than words ever could. Because when you say nothing, she's left alone with her own imagination, and her imagination is ruthless. It doesn't rest. It builds stories, invents reasons, magnifies fears. She'll convince herself you're fine, then question if you've lost interest, then imagine you're already giving someone else the attention she used to have. Each thought pulls her deeper into your orbit, even as she tries to appear detached. And the irony is, even anger or confusion keeps her tied to you. Negative emotions are still emotional investment. As long as she's thinking about you, she's still reacting to your silence. You've occupied mental space again, but this time without effort. The moment you stop chasing, the dynamic flips. Most men crumble when the woman pulls away. They panic, overtext, try to fix things. But the man who stays quiet shows strength. He becomes unpredictable, unreactive, and that unpredictability builds tension. She can't measure your emotions anymore, can't control your frame, can't use your need for reassurance to test her own worth. Your silence breaks the pattern of comfort she built around your presence. It reminds her that attention is not infinite and validation must be earned. The longer you stay composed, the more that silence starts to echo inside her. What used to be background noise now feels like the air missing from her lungs. That's the beauty and danger of silence. It forces awareness. You don't have to argue, explain, or prove anything. Your absence says it all. It tells her that your world continues with or without her. It shows her that you're no longer available on demand, and that quiet strength unsettles her more than any speech ever could. She'll sense the shift, but won't understand it. She'll scroll through old messages, check your social media, wonder why you seem fine. Because silence not only creates distance, it also projects confidence. It's the signal that says, I'm good either way. That's when attraction transforms. It's no longer about words, promises, or effort. It's about energy, presence, and control. You've pulled your energy back to yourself, and in doing so, you've changed the gravitational pull of the connection. She may not chase right away, but trust me, the silence is already doing the work. The shock becomes curiosity. Curiosity becomes doubt. Doubt becomes desire. And through it all, your power grows in direct proportion to your restraint. That's the silent shift that most men never see, when saying nothing becomes the loudest thing you've ever done. Uncertainty. That's what your silence turns into next. It creeps into her thoughts quietly, then starts to take over everything. At first, she tells herself you're just busy, that you'll text eventually. But as the hours stretch into days, her confidence begins to crumble. She starts asking questions she can't answer. Did I do something wrong? Did he lose interest? Has he already replaced me? Each question plants a seed of tension, and that tension keeps you alive in her mind. You're no longer the man who texts her every morning. You've become the mystery she can't decode. And the human mind, especially the emotional mind, hates mysteries it can't solve. This is why silence is stronger than persuasion. When you speak, you give her something to argue with, to rationalize. When you say nothing, she argues with herself. She replays every conversation, searching for meaning in words that didn't matter before. That one text you sent a week ago suddenly feels like a hidden message. That last look you gave her becomes a puzzle piece she keeps rotating in her head. Every little thing becomes evidence. The less you say, the more her imagination fills in the blanks. And her imagination always paints a story more dramatic than reality. She starts to build a narrative around you, one where your absence means you're evolving, moving forward, no longer waiting. Uncertainty isn't neutral. It's emotional fuel. It drives her to check her phone more, to glance at your profile, to wonder what you're doing. It doesn't matter if her curiosity shows up as anger, jealousy, or guilt. It's still attention, still energy directed toward you. Even if she complains to her friends, I don't know what's going on with him, she's still thinking about you. That's the paradox. Frustration and desire live in the same house. The moment she starts to overthink, you've already won. Because what she's chasing now isn't you, it's certainty. And only you can give it to her, which means you're back in control without lifting a finger. Understand this. People value what they can't fully understand. Predictability kills emotion. Unpredictability brings it back to life. When you were always available, she felt safe, maybe even too safe. She could take hours to reply, knowing you'd always be there. She could test boundaries, knowing you'd always chase. But when you went silent, you broke that rhythm. You introduced doubt, and doubt creates emotional gravity. The more she tries to pull herself away, the harder it becomes. Because now she's wondering where she stands, what went wrong, and why the balance shifted. You've gone from being the pursuer to the prize. Here's what separates strong men from weak ones. Weak men can't handle the tension of uncertainty. They rush to end it. They send the follow-up text, the just checking on you message that kills curiosity instantly. But a strong man knows that silence is not waiting, it's positioning. You're not hoping she comes back. You're allowing space for her to feel the loss, to notice the difference between your presence and your absence. You don't chase, you don't explain, and you don't fold. Because the moment you chase, you restore her sense of control. The mystery dies. The emotional fire goes out. Think of it like a movie that reveals every twist in the first 10 minutes. There's no reason to keep watching. But the story that holds secrets, that leaves questions unanswered, keeps the audience hooked. That's what your silence does. It keeps her emotionally invested in the story. Every unanswered question is another thread connecting her to you. And the more she tries to pull away, the tighter those threads wrap around her thoughts. She might act cold when you cross paths, but her mind is racing underneath that mask. Every glance, every small interaction becomes a test to see if she still affects you. And when you show no reaction, when your calm energy doesn't waver, she feels it deeper than any speech could reach. This is the moment where silence turns from confusion into obsession. Not obsession in a toxic way, but in a psychological one. Because she's not just missing your attention, she's missing the certainty it gave her. She's not used to men who don't chase, who don't fold under distance. So your restraint becomes the most powerful message of all. It tells her without a word that your attention must be earned, that you value peace over panic, that your energy belongs only where it's respected. And the irony? The moment she realizes she can't predict you, that's when she starts chasing again. Maybe it starts small. A story posted just for you to see. A random message to test your response. A casual, hey, that sounds innocent, but means she's been thinking. That's the power of uncertainty. It shifts the chase without you doing anything. Silence makes her wonder. Wondering makes her reach out. And when she does, she's no longer testing your interest. She's proving hers. Ego. That's where the silence cuts deepest. When a woman is ignored by the man who once gave her attention, it doesn't just sting her emotions, it bruises her pride. Most women are used to being seen, complimented, validated. It's not arrogance, it's conditioning. Social media likes, messages from admirers, glances in public. Attention becomes a constant background hum in her world. And your presence was part of that hum. When it suddenly stops, she feels something she doesn't feel often. Irrelevance. That's not just uncomfortable. It's unbearable. Because when a woman who's used to attention no longer gets it from you, her ego starts searching for reasons. Why doesn't he text me anymore? Why isn't he watching my stories? Why did he just stop? At first, she'll play it cool. She'll tell herself she's fine, that she doesn't need your validation. She might even post something and a photo, a quote, a story, not for the world, but for you. It's her way of testing the line, to see if you'll react, to see if your silence can be broken. But when you don't take the bait, something shifts. She starts feeling what you once felt, uncertainty mixed with frustration. And that's the exact emotional cocktail that makes people chase. Because the ego doesn't care about peace. It cares about control. Your silence reminds her that she no longer has control over your attention. And that loss of control feels like rejection. Even if you've done nothing but stay still. Here's what most men never understand. When you withdraw your attention, you're not just removing your presence, you're removing her reflection. Because in her mind, your attention confirmed her value. When that confirmation disappears, she has to face her own insecurities without your validation to soften the blow. That's when she begins to question not just what happened, but herself. Was I not interesting enough? Did I push him away? Is he losing interest in me? That self-questioning is powerful because it's no longer about you proving yourself. It's about her trying to prove herself to you. The roles have reversed completely. That's why silence can rebuild attraction faster than words ever could. Every time she checks her phone and sees nothing from you, she feels a small reminder of what she lost. It's not pain in the traditional sense. It's a bruise, invisible but constant. She won't admit it to anyone, but she'll feel it every time she scrolls past your name. The longer you stay silent, the more the bruise deepens. And with it, the more she starts to respect your self-control. Because most men, when ignored, chase. Most men fold. But the man who doesn't react, who meets her silence with calm, becomes rare. And rarity commands attention. There's a psychological principle behind this. People value what they can't easily get. The moment you stop giving your attention freely, it becomes valuable. When she realizes that your presence isn't guaranteed, it forces her to see what she took for granted. That's why she might act distant but still find ways to check in, through mutual friends, through subtle messages, or by showing up online when she knows you'll see it. Each move comes from the same place, a bruised ego trying to regain balance. And here's the key, never rush to soothe that ego. The moment you do, you reset the balance in her favor. The power of silence lies in its tension. You let her feel it. You let her sit in it. You don't punish her, but you don't reward her either. Because what you're teaching her without a word is that your validation must be earned, not assumed. You're showing her that attention from you is no longer a given. It's a privilege. And the more she feels that shift, the more she begins to chase the feeling of earning it back. Imagine her late at night, scrolling through her phone. Every man she knows is predictable. Quick replies, endless compliments, constant energy. But you've gone quiet. No reaction, no validation, no attention. That silence stands out like a spotlight in the dark. It drives curiosity, then doubt, then desire. Because deep down, she knows the truth. Attention from weak men is cheap, but indifference from a strong man is rare. And what's rare always becomes irresistible. So hold your frame. Let her ego do the work. Let her wonder why your world doesn't orbit around her anymore. Because that wondering is where attraction is reborn. When you stop giving her what every other man gives so easily, you remind her that you're not every other man. You remind her that you have boundaries, focus, and purpose. And that realization, that she no longer controls your attention, is what makes her crave it again. Not because she needs it, but because she now has to earn it. When you pull away, something fundamental shifts inside her. Attraction stops feeling safe. It starts to feel risky, and that's exactly why it grows stronger. As long as she knew you'd always text back, she felt secure. She could take her time, act cold, play games, and still know you'd be there. But once your silence sets in, that safety vanishes. She begins to realize something she never had to face before. Your attention isn't guaranteed. That realization changes everything, because people only value what they could lose. Certainty breeds comfort, but comfort kills desire. Risk, on the other hand, breathes life back into it. Attraction thrives on that risk, the possibility of loss. When she senses that you're no longer under her spell, that you've stopped orbiting around her, her emotions shift from control to fear. Fear of losing the power she once held, fear of being replaced, fear of no longer being desired. That fear is uncomfortable, but it's also magnetic, because now she has to earn what once came easily. The chase she thought was over begins again, but this time from her side. Every hour of silence becomes a quiet reminder that you're no longer predictable, and unpredictability is the spark that reignites curiosity. It's in that gap between comfort and loss that attraction transforms. She might not reach out right away, her pride won't let her, but she feels the pull. Her mind replays the moments she dismissed, the texts she ignored, the energy she once took for granted. And now she understands, too late, that your attention was never free. You were giving it because you chose to, not because she earned it. Your silence teaches her that lesson in a way words never could. You've shifted from someone seeking validation to someone whose presence has to be earned. And that shift in dynamic is what flips the entire relationship of power. Most men misunderstand this stage. They think the silence means she's moved on, that her lack of reaction means she doesn't care. But attraction doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it hides behind resistance. She'll tell herself she's over it, that she's better off, that she doesn't need you. But deep down, her emotions are wrestling with reality. Her pride says, stay silent, but her curiosity whispers, what if he's gone for good? That internal conflict is the battlefield of attraction, and your silence is winning the war. The truth is, safety feels good but never exciting. When everything is certain, nothing feels alive. Relationships lose spark when they lose risk. By stepping back, you've reintroduced uncertainty, and with it, tension. She no longer feels entitled to your attention, which makes her crave it more. It's the same reason people only appreciate warmth after they've felt cold. You've become that contrast in her emotional world. She didn't see your worth when she had you every day. Now that your presence is gone, it stands out like oxygen after a breath held too long. And this shift doesn't just change how she feels. It changes how she sees you. You're no longer the man chasing her shadow. You've become the man standing still while she circles back. That calm indifference, that self-contained strength is what most women secretly crave but rarely encounter. It reminds her that being with you is not a guarantee, it's a choice, one she has to make with effort and sincerity. And that's when attraction becomes real again, because she finally feels something she can lose. Understand this. Silence doesn't create distance to punish her. It creates perspective to awaken her. The more she feels the risk of losing you, the more she evaluates her own behavior. She'll start thinking about what she brought to the table, what she contributed, and where she went wrong. Not because you told her to, but because your absence forced her reflection. That's the moment where pride begins to crack. The silence that once felt like rejection starts to feel like consequence. And that's when desire begins to take root again. Not the shallow, effortless kind, but the kind that grows from respect. So don't break the silence just to relieve the tension. Let her feel it. Let the risk do its work, because the fear of loss is the greatest motivator there is. When she realizes she's no longer sure of her place in your life, she'll fight to reclaim it. Not out of ego this time, but out of recognition. That your presence brought stability, focus, and value she didn't appreciate before. That's what real attraction is built on. The more she feels the cost of losing you, the more she understands your worth. And when she reaches out again, it won't be because you chased her. It'll be because silence made her realize she doesn't want to live without your presence. When she starts to pull away, most men panic. They assume it means she's done, that the connection is dying, that they have to do something, anything, to save it. So they chase. They text more, call more, explain themselves, apologize for things they didn't even do. But here's the truth. When a woman withdraws, it's not always rejection. It's often a test she may not even realize she's giving. She wants to see what you're made of, whether you can stay grounded when things feel uncertain, whether you lose composure when she pulls her attention away, whether you're strong enough to hold your frame when the validation disappears. That's not cruelty. It's instinct. On a primal level, women are drawn to stability. Emotional stability is proof of strength. When she steps back, she's not just pulling away, she's measuring your reaction. Will you break? Will you chase? Or will you stay centered? Every move you make in that silence tells her what kind of man you really are. Weak men collapse under that pressure. They try to fix what isn't broken. But the man who understands his worth stays calm. He doesn't text paragraphs. He doesn't demand explanations. He doesn't beg for reassurance. He simply keeps moving forward, focused, collected, unshaken. And that calm confidence is what separates the man she forgets from the one she respects. Think of it like a stress test. Her silence is the weight and your frame is the muscle. If it's weak, it cracks. If it's strong, it holds. Every time you resist the urge to react emotionally, you're proving something to both her and yourself, that you're not controlled by her behavior. You're controlled by your principles. You're not seeking approval. You're grounded in purpose. That steadiness creates an energy she can feel even through silence. It tells her that you're not afraid of losing her because you were never dependent on her in the first place. You were simply choosing to connect. And when a man chooses rather than clings, he becomes rare. This is where most men fail. They mistake emotional control for disinterest and panic for passion. They think being calm will make them lose her, when in reality, that's the very thing that earns her respect. Because when you remain unmoved by her tests, she sees something she doesn't find often. A man who cannot be manipulated by emotion. And ironically, that's what makes her feel safe again. She may never say it out loud, but every time you pass one of her silent tests, her respect for you grows. She starts to realize that you're not reactive, you're responsive. You don't act from insecurity, you act from strength. Here's how to handle it. When she distances herself, control your emotions. Don't respond to silence with panic. Don't text out of fear. Don't ask for clarity she's not ready to give. Let her feel the distance she's creating. Because if she can pull away without consequence, she'll keep doing it. But if she feels the space, if she feels your absence instead of your chase, she learns that her actions have weight. That's not punishment, that's reality. You're showing her that your energy is not a toy to be played with, it's a privilege to be earned. Next, redirect your focus. A man anchored in purpose doesn't have time to obsess over someone's silence. He trains, builds, grows, sharpens. He becomes so immersed in his mission that no amount of emotional noise can knock him off course. That's what she needs to feel from you, that her absence doesn't stop your momentum. When she sees that your world doesn't revolve around her, curiosity replaces indifference. Because deep down, every woman wants to be part of a man's purpose, not the center of it. And finally, let her feel the outcome of her own withdrawal. Don't fill the silence she created. If she pulls away, let her. If she ignores you, stay still. If she withholds attention, give none in return. Space reveals truth faster than words ever could. The longer you remain composed, the more the silence presses on her ego, her curiosity, and her heart. She'll start to wonder what happened, why you didn't chase, why you didn't react like every other man. That's when the dynamic shifts completely. You're no longer proving your worth. She's trying to re-earn yours. So when she tests you with distance, don't see it as rejection. See it as the moment that defines you. Because every test is a chance to prove mastery. Every silence is a chance to practice discipline. And every withdrawal is an opportunity to show that your strength doesn't depend on her approval. When she realizes that nothing she does can shake your composure, something profound happens. Respect replaces power. And once a woman respects you, attraction follows naturally. Not because you forced it, but because you embodied the kind of strength she was testing for all along. Silence is not weakness. It's not avoidance. It's not a game. Silence is mastery, the ability to stay unmoved in a world addicted to reaction. When you stop contacting her, the truth finally reveals itself. You see who she really is. You see whether she valued your presence or just your attention. And more importantly, you see who you really are. Do you collapse the moment she pulls away? Do you lose yourself in panic and doubt? Or do you stand firm, grounded in your purpose, knowing that no one's absence can take away your balance? That moment, when the silence feels the heaviest, is the exact moment where men either break or rise. The Stoic man rises. He doesn't pretend not to feel. He simply refuses to let feelings dictate his moves. He knows one unshakable truth. The only control that exists is self-control. He can't control her silence, her choices, or her return, but he can control his response. And that's where power lives. While most men spend their energy trying to fix others, the Stoic man invests that energy into refining himself. When she goes silent, he builds. When she pulls back, he sharpens. When she disappears, he stays focused on the mission. Because his worth was never measured by her attention. It's proven through his discipline. Discipline is what separates boys from men. It's the ability to hold your tongue when emotion begs you to speak, to stay composed when pride tells you to react, to walk away when disrespect becomes the pattern. Weak men chase comfort. Strong men chase clarity. They would rather lose someone than lose themselves. That's why the Stoic man always earns respect, even from the one who leaves. Because he never betrays his own code to win affection. He doesn't beg, doesn't explain, doesn't crumble. His silence isn't passive. It's deliberate. It's the sound of a man choosing dignity over desperation. Women test with emotion but fall for composure. They bring chaos to see if you'll break, but what they truly desire is the man who stands still through the storm. A calm presence is magnetic because it's rare. It communicates something no words can. I am enough as I am. That energy commands respect, not demand attention. It's the same energy that leaders, warriors, and builders carry, a steadiness that makes others feel secure even when everything else is uncertain. And that steadiness is born from silence, not the absence of words, but the presence of control. So the next time she withdraws, the next time your phone stays quiet, the next time doubt starts whispering, remember this: the silence isn't your enemy. It's your training ground. Every moment you resist the urge to chase, you sharpen your frame. Every time you stay composed when emotions surge, you forge strength. Every hour you invest in your purpose instead of panic, you become the kind of man who can't be shaken by loss, because he's already full within himself. That's the essence of Stoicism. Not indifference, but dominance over impulse. And here's the paradox. When you master that calm, the world starts responding differently. People respect you more. Opportunities open. Even the same woman who once tested you begins to view you through a new lens. Because true attraction isn't about words, it's about energy. The steady, disciplined presence of a man who doesn't need approval to know his worth. You stop chasing validation and start building value. You stop reacting and start leading. You become the mountain, not the storm. If this message reaches you while you're sitting in silence, unsure of what to do, take it as a sign. Don't fill the quiet, own it. Let it shape you. Use it to strengthen your focus, your discipline, your body, your craft, your purpose. Because in the end, the world doesn't reward men who beg for peace. It rewards men who build it. Silence is the forge where that kind of man is made. It burns away weakness and leaves only truth. So carry this with you. You are not defined by who stays or who leaves, but by how you stand when the noise stops. The man who can face silence without breaking, without folding, without losing himself. That's the man who commands respect, love, and destiny. The silence that once felt like punishment becomes your power. The quiet that once scared you becomes your strength. And when you finally walk through it, you don't just get her respect, you earn your own.